The aim this week is to make our spreadsheet a little bit easier for others to use, so it's all about user experience. So looking what you've already produced, you should already have a spreadsheet that looks something like this, where you can enter data about how much screen time you've used that week. And we're saying a recommended hours of 4 hours of screen time a day, but you can change this value to whatever you think is appropriate. And we've got our if statements here and conditional formatting that will change depending on whatever data we've put in here. So looking at your spreadsheet that you have so far, I'm hoping that you've got a spreadsheet that looks something like mine, and obviously we did the graph last lesson where we're representing that data in a different way. So that's our first step. The next step we're then looking at is adding in some buttons to make it easier to use and easier to operate. And as well as that, we're going to use some buttons to make a form of validation. Now, validation is a way that you can reduce errors happening in your code, happening in your spreadsheet, and therefore less chance of the information that we're given being wrong. So we're going to go back and add some validation. And the way we can do this is I'm just going to move my graph over a little bit, and I'm going to put some numbers in here. So I'm going to start with a 0. I want to include that, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. Now obviously I can use relative referencing and bring that down, and I get all the way up to 18. I'm not going to go beyond 18 hours of screen time a day, but I've got 18 in there just in case. So that's what I've done. This is what we're allowed to select, and I'm now just choosing the boxes that I want my data to go into. So this is the ones that we've already put information in, and we're just going up to data, and what I can add in here is data validation. So there's our cell range that we're applying it to, C4 to I8. This is C4 here for the Monday, and I8 is over here, so the whole of this box. And the criteria we're going to allow is from a list of items, list from a range, and the range, if I click in here, is the data that I wrote before. So I'm just going to drag all of these numbers from 0 to 18, and that's these cells. So on mine it's O and 2 to O20, so here's O2 all the way up, I move my head out of the way, to O20. So I can just click OK. It's just checking that this is the information I want, so from a range from there, and I can just click save. So now what you might have noticed, in my spreadsheet I've got these little drop down boxes, so I can just click on one and change it to 2, and it makes no real difference to my advice section of well controlled screen time. But if I just move this one up a few more, I'll click out that second, it was green. Now when I change this 0 to 4, you can see that everything changes. So instead of entering data manually, I'm now entering data from a drop down box. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint. So when we're looking at the PowerPoint, I've shown you how to make it easier to enter data, and I've shown how to use drop down validation. Now if you're doing this in Excel, then there is a video that if you watch the PowerPoint and press play, it'll explain how to do this in Excel. So beyond that, the next stage is at the moment. The next stage then, I didn't mean to press play on the video, but you can see what's going on. So we've got our numbers, but the problem being we don't always want our numbers to be displayed. At the moment we can see them. Now there's a couple of ways that we can hide these, and you might be able to think of a few ways that we can just hide this data here because it doesn't need to be seen. One way is we can just really make the cell very narrow, really narrow, where we can't see the data, but that's not the best way. Another way is if we've got an image or a graph, we can just move our image or graph over the data and hide it that way. That's quite a successful way of hiding the data. But there are a couple other ways, and the way that I prefer this is I select the data, and then I can just colour my writing the same colour as my cells, and that way you can't see the data. It's often a good idea also to put an image over them so that somebody can't accidentally click those cells and remove the information. So even though the cells are now white, I can still click on them and change them, or I can still change the data in here. So I'm just going to make these coloured so I can see them again. Now if I delete the number 3 here, I'll just show you on a drop down box. Number 3 is now missing from my data range, so I must have every element in my list still there. That's why we hide it rather than delete it. So just a reminder there, we change it to the same colour as the cell, and just to protect it a little bit we can put an image over the top. So now my data validation, my drop down menu, will still work as intended. So that's exactly what we're looking to create today with your spreadsheet for screen time. Let's just move on a little bit. I've already explained how to hide the buttons, but there is a video on the PowerPoint that will explain that again. The next thing I want to look at is comments. Now you'll notice here, if I just hide myself for a moment, you can see the social media and online. There's a little red flag in the corner. This little red flag means there's a comment, means there's something in there that we can look at. So again, let's just look at our data, look at our spreadsheet, and if I hover over this flag, it tells me information. So online video, we're looking at YouTube, Netflix, Prime Video, Now TV, all that kind of thing. And I'll show you how we can add that in, 'cause it's just a useful little reminder of what the information is about. So I can click on where I've got social media, and I can right click and I can insert a comment. And in this comment I can just add a few elements. Not quite sure what it actually did there. Delete that column. Insert, I think I insert a cell instead. Wasn't reading what I was doing. Insert comment, and I can add a comment in here. So for social media I could have Facebook, other social media is TikTok, and you can list many others in there and just click comment. And now when I click out that cell on here, it will tell me, I'll put my comment right at the top here. My comment should have been on the cell I wanted it to be on, but you get the idea. So click on the cell, insert, and comment, and then write your comment. So I'll write that again: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, although that's online video, but let's leave it at that, and click comment. So again, now when I hover over this, the comment would appear on my screen. So that's what we've got there with comments. Let's just go back to the PowerPoint. I want you to add a comment in for each of your elements there. Now if you're doing this in Excel, you can follow the PowerPoint and the video, and it will show you how you can create a scroll button in your work. So there is a video here, and what it will do is you can have an up and down on a cell to change this value here. Unfortunately, Google Sheets, it can't be done very easily. It can be done, but you have to code the actual program rather than use the features. So if you are using Excel, you can add a scroll button into your work. Remember to add evidence to your ePortfolio and submit your ePortfolio back to your teacher.